Hello everybody. We have another game with the white pieces against KK Parisa, rated 681. We're starting off at the bottom end, 560. We're going to work our way up with a focus on the center. So we take space in the center with e4, we seize control. Black goes knight f6, threatening our pawn. Drawback, he does not have a pawn in the center of his own, therefore we can push in the center freely. However, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to develop and hit the center 2 and 1. Black's going to go d5. This attacks the center and helps development. Not bad. Threatens my pawn. Drawback. Well, I'm going to take it. Now we remove the pawns in the center. They were equally strong. They're both gone. He takes back with the knight. Fine, I can continue because his threat on my pawn is gone. Center, development, king safety. Boom. This develops, hits the center, prepares castling, aka king safety. Black takes the knight. Threat on the queen. Drawback, moving the same piece again and again. Now I get to take with a pawn from B and move it towards the center to C. What does this do? Opens up lines for my pieces and strengthens my center. Ill-advised. So, black, bishop g4. Simple pin, nothing too scary. Drawback, weakens and undefends this diagonal. Okay, now the center is somewhat open. We can try to stake a claim, or we can use all the open lines we have with development. So, because my rook doesn't belong here anyway, I'm going to make this simple development move, and my rook was controlling one square before. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 open squares. Let's just, for simplicity, 6 open squares, whereas before it was 1 open square. So, black was here. This defends the pawn, defends the bishop, but doesn't develop, doesn't center, doesn't king safety. Fine. We can continue. Boom. We put a pawn in the center. It also assists in development. And now we're staking claim on these 4 squares. Black goes f5. It doesn't threaten anything, but it does stake claim in the center. It's what the Dutch is based around, right? Controlling the e4 square. Drawback, creates a huge holes on these 2 squares. Creates a backwards e7 pawn. A weak diagonal. Doesn't develop. Doesn't get closer to castling. No center, no development, no king safety. Our turn. 4 squares, center. How do we take control of them? Numerous ways. Let's start by developing a piece towards the center, towards his king safety, and preparing our own castling, king safety, 4 and 1. And our position is already overwhelming at this point. Center, and all we did was play moves that involved the center, and if we didn't play the move involving the center, we made sure we developed. That's all we did so far. So he goes e6, defends the pawn, doesn't threaten anything. It does prepare development, but again, backwards pawn, weak square, both of these. Now, how can we intensify control of the center or development, etc.? Well, I want to throw in king safety, right? Get it out of the way. It's also a partial developing move because we need our rook on this side of the king. So, just following the 3 principles that I have in the bottom of your screen. Center, development, king safety. Black goes knight c6. Doesn't threaten anything, maybe to attack the bishop or something, but no real threats. No real drawbacks other than he can no longer attack the center with c5. because the knight really can never really take the pawn because it's defended by a pawn. So you would need to attack it with a pawn. So that's the drawback of his move. But fine. How do we intensify center development? And when we say king safety from here on, we're going to talk about the opponent's weak king because our king is already safe. So we're going to develop this rook, right? Like this bishop already touches a ton of squares. We don't know exactly where we want it yet, but this rook, it's obviously going to go here. And so it's developing its center. It comes with a huge threat on this pawn and the enemy's king. So now when you're combining center development and king safety into one move, one package, it's got to be a strong move if it's in the opening or whatever. It has to be. And now I have really game-winning control over e5. That alone can win you the game. So he does attack the bishop like I thought he might. That's the threat. The obvious drawback is, who cares? He's moving the same piece twice. I can dodge it if I want. I can check him if I want. I can go back here and fix my pawn structure or just bring my rook up. Also, his pawn's hanging. Like, this isn't an actual threat. And he's not developing, right? He's moving a knight that was controlling the center, no longer controls the center. So how does this move affect the center? Makes it weaker for him. Development wise, worsens his development, doesn't even bring out another piece. King safety opens diagonals towards his king. Just bad move. Like, bad move. If you were thinking, oh, let me attack the bishop, now you know it's a bad move. Okay, so anyway, bishop's under attack. Now I'm attacking the queen, and there's an extra on the king. It's complete catastrophe. Or as Peter Lake go, catastrophe. Yeah, it's completely over. If you're up against Magnus here, you win every time. That's how, like, it's over. Black goes queen d8. It simply gets out of the attack, but it doesn't threaten anything. He's still in this giant x-ray. Nothing good can come from this. Do I see any immediate checkmates? You see, now the center and development is so good that, and more importantly, his king is so weak that combined you can look for stuff like that. We still don't have complete development, so we're just going to keep it simple and take this pawn. And what this does, A, removes the pawn that was controlling the center. B, checks his king down the center with our development. Hangs through. C, wins a piece for us. And if he tries to move, maybe we have even better moves. You see, if he had blocked last turn, like this, we don't have any follow-up checks that matter, and then we have to just basically take the bishop. But now that he moved his king, we have the added option of knight e5 check, which hangs the queen, but it's a check, so he can't take the queen. And when he moves his king, so let's say check, moves his king up, we could then take the bishop with 3 different pieces. That's reasonable, and he gets a piece closer to his king. We could also just take the bishop. It really doesn't matter, but I'm going to be a slightly fancy, improve a piece for free. I generally like to include moves that I think improve my position if they're free. Okay, so he does attack the bishop. Of course, you can take it, move it, but we want to bring in as many pieces as possible. And now it's not about the center because the center's ours. Like, he doesn't have anything even touching these squares. The center's totally collapsed. We own it. Development, I mean, you can't even compare. Look at our rooks down the middle, down the B file. Look at his knight, and look at our knight, right? Look at our bishop. Look at his bishop. Look at our queen. Look at his queen. You can't even compare it. And kings, look at our king. Look at his king. And so just by these 3 little metrics, and I mean, you could break chess down into like extremely comprehensive, thorough metrics and imbalances and stuff, but just by using this simplistic method, you can look at the position and determine who's better, right? And that's important. So my opponent offered a draw and then resigned, which is the correct thing to do because A, you hang your knight, and B, do we not have something better? Is this checkmate? Yeah. Yeah, okay. This doesn't win the queen. This wins the game. Checkmate. And so, got a nice quick one in the books for you guys. I just want to recap quickly. Center. Okay, moves are going to have multiple. Like this is center development and king safety all tied into one. But I'm going to just pick the primary one just to show you real quickly. Center. Development. Even though it's obviously center as well. Center, because the reason for this capture is if you don't take and he pushes, then your knight's getting kicked around, which affects your center, right? Because the knight controls the center. And so you either have to take or push yourself. So we just took. Keep it simple just so I can show you principles, right? And now we don't take. Taking is for noobs. So develop. Center. Develop. Center. Develop. King safety. Develop. King safety. Free material. That's not one of the three concepts, but obviously if you're winning stuff, you're winning stuff. The center, like those principles lead to a checkmate or lead to winning stuff. So if you get to that point, you already did a good job, right? So I could stop there. You know, I don't need to do center anymore because the game's over. Those principles already won the game here. So the rest is just taking free stuff. But all right, so hopefully that showed you every single move. Center, development, king, safety, which is really cool when you look at it like that. Filter your own moves. When you're about to make something, you'll realize if it doesn't have to do with those three, maybe don't make it. All right, hopefully you're enjoying this new framework. I'll see you in my next episode.